In today's video, I'm going to talk about the 10 numbers, which is the other half of looking at a card. We've already looked at the suits in many different ways, and now we're going to start looking at the numbers in a few different ways. And there's a lot of ways you can, that numbers can be taught, that you kind of get the understanding of what a number means. But one of my favorite ones is using a system of numbers that the Hindu astrologers use with their lunar mansions. And they have, from the moon, each star represents a certain number, and because of that number, it gets a certain quality. And I found that those qualities work hand in hand with the numbers that we use in the cards, 1 through 10. And it's a really easy way to use the numbers that allows for a lot of depth of meaning. So this is really one of my favorite ways to use numbers. And when I'm working with the number and I'm kind of struggling with, okay, what does this number mean for this person? The first thing my brain starts thinking about is these words to help me, these keywords that we're going to talk about. So, you can find different systems of numerology. Different numerologists will have different ideas of different numbers. But I think this system here of numbers is a lot older and kind of covers the foundation of the other meanings that other people might explain to the numbers. Okay, so real simply, for the number 1, the Sanskrit word that's used is called Janma. And Janma is a combination of two sort of roots or words. Jan means birth and Ma means I or consciousness. It's the Ma is like your I consciousness, the consciousness that you have as an individual. So Janma means birth of I. It doesn't simply mean birth of something, it literally means birth of I. Because of that, all the ace cards are always I cards. They're always cards that make us aware of something that we can say I. So if it's a ace of spades, it's like, oh, I am life, I live. And so when you see an ace of spades come up in a spread, there's always something coming up that makes the person see something more about who they really are. Because I am this, I am an asshole. Oh my God, I didn't see that one coming. I'm actually really quite an amazing person. And so in life we get these different realizations of, oh wow, this is what I'm more like. And that's the ace of spades, is that life that's, birthing and living within us. What is that life really? Getting more clear on what it is. And that's what the ace of spades is. It's I am. And you've always been that way. You've always been the way you are. But at different times we get these events that happen that create these revelations that make us get an awareness of who we are. And that's when the ace of spades comes up. Then we get the ace of hearts, and it's I. It's again birth of an I. What kind of I? I feel. Okay? Or I love, or I hate. That's what the ace of hearts is. It's, the understanding that I feel something. So an ace of hearts comes up, you go, I feel love, or I feel happy, or I feel hopeful. So it's an emotional feeling that envelops your I. It's a birth of a feeling that you identify with, though, because all the aces are I cards, okay? Aces are all about number 1, right? The I. Then we get the ace of clubs. That's birth of an I in our intellect. I think. Okay, it's a birth of a new I. It's always a birth, which means a new origin, a new something. Ace of hearts is a new feeling. Ace of spades is a new awareness about what we are. Ace of clubs is I think, or I have an idea, which is, again, I think this is a good idea. So that's simply what the ace of clubs is. Something comes up and we go, oh, I think this, or I understand this. But it's always this revelation of I. All aces are like that. Okay? Then there's the ace of diamonds. So the ace of diamonds would be birth of an I of a resource. Oh, I have an opportunity. Oh, I have money. Oh, I have this skill. So an ace of diamonds might come up in someone's future, and they might go to the friend's house, and the friend might be finishing up a painting, and they'll like, oh, I'll be done in 15 minutes, let me just finish this. And you'll kind of say, okay, and you'll grab a brush. Next thing you know, you'll go, wow, I have painting skill. And you might start painting. Or, you know, someone invites you to, you know, a race. Says, hey, let's just go do this race. And you're like, well, I haven't really been doing this. I'm like, oh, just come, it'll be fun. And you go and you win. You're like, wow, I am fast. You know, you realize that you have a skill, an ability, or a resource that makes you have more value. And so the Ace of Diamonds is really, I have value, as whatever it is that you discover about yourself. So whenever those aces come up, there's this new thing that you come to terms with about yourself in those 4 different categories. And when something's born, it just means there's this new thing you understand about yourself. It doesn't mean it's going to be everything in your life. So the person might go, wow, I have a skill in painting, Ace of Diamonds. But that doesn't mean they're going to go on to be a painter and make money on painting. The birth is just the beginning. And we have a lot of beginnings in our lives. Like the easiest beginnings we can think about that we can relate to usually is the Ace of Hearts. I love this, I love that, I love this. We say that about everything that we get emotionally have any attachment to. From, you know, I love this car, I love this person, I love this TV show. You know, there's all these things we say I love. But how many of those feelings do we actually follow through on and connect with? So that's the nature of all aces. We always have countless little births going on of I this, I that, I that. But how much of them do we really follow through on? Most of them we won't. And you can kind of equate that to how many people you go, I feel attracted to this person, or I feel in love with this person, or I feel I like this person. How many of those people you actually have a relationship with? Only a fraction of them. And that's the nature of the aces. There's a lot of this stuff going on, but only some of it matures anywhere. So when you see an ace, it's not an automatic assurance that, oh gosh, you got an Ace of Diamonds, this is your next great career. You have to read the rest of the spread and see if that ace is going to get anywhere. Okay, whatever the ace it might be. So the second number, the Hindus, old Hindu astrologers would call Sampat. Sampat literally means flying together. And that's just such a good explanation for the two. It's just two things flying together as a result of the ace. So let's say you've got the Ace of Spades. And the Ace of Spades, you get this, I am this, you know. And the minute that that happens, you realize that your life has changed and you have to fly together with the changes of your life. Like if we imagine the Ace of Spades is a seed that's sprouting, and the seed goes, oh, I am a tree. I have roots. I have a little stem poking out of my head. That's what the Ace of Spades thinks as a seed. Then he has to come together what he needs. Oh, because I am this, I need to come together, fly together with what I need. What does the seed need? That sprouting seed needs to anchor into the earth, right? So the Two of Spades is like getting anchored into what it is that we need now that we have the revelation that we've had. It's flying. As soon as we have the revelation, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic, Ace of Spades, I didn't realize it. What do? Then we fly together with what we need for that. Okay? So whatever it is that our life needs us to have, because of this revelation of I am this, that we come together with that at the Two of Spades. So the Two of Spades is simply a card of coming together, connecting with something that we need in order to survive or in order to live. So the Ace of Spades is I'm alive. The Two of Spades is wow, since you're alive, you're going to need this or else you're not going to stay alive very long. Okay? So the Two of Spades is always getting what you need to survive. And if you're doing a spread and it's about medical astrology or something, you get the Two of Spades coming out. That means the person's going to come together with what it is that they need to stay alive, whether it's the surgeon they need to keep them alive, the drug, the treatment, or whatever. Okay? And the Ace or the Two of Spades is a really difficult card that when you read most of the interpretations about it, and then you comes up in readings, you're still kind of dizzy about it. And this just clears it up for me. The Two of Spades is just coming together, flying together with what you need to live. Okay? Really nice and simple. Now, there's a connotation to this whole flying together thing. And that upon coming together with something, you have ownership, responsibility, and control over that thing. You've come together with it. You've made it yours. Now you have responsibility for it. So, let's say you fly together with your treatment at the Two of Spades and you get your prescription drugs. Now you have responsibility for those prescription drugs. You're responsible for taking them according to directions. If you leave them out and you leave them open and a child comes along and eats half of them and dies, that was your responsibility because those were yours. You owned those. So the minute you fly together and connect with something, you own it at that point and you're responsible for it. So all twos represent a responsibility so that we have towards ourselves and something else. So with the Ace of Spades, it goes, I'm alive, and the Two of Spades goes, and I need this to be alive. Well, now that you're aware of that, you're responsible for that. You're responsible for getting and using what it is that you need to stay alive. So the twos have a lot of responsibility attached. Two of Hearts is, well, after the Ace of Hearts saying I love, you fly together with what you love. Whatever it is that you love, you rush out and grab it and get it, or kiss it, or hug it, or whatever, and you connect with it. All twos do that. At that point, you have a responsibility towards that article of love. And you have to be responsible of it. Lots of times you'll see an upside down two will simply be a person who's being irresponsible with that suit. They're not being responsible with the objects of their love. They're not being responsible with taking care of their lives. It's the Two of Spades, it's upside down. With the Ace of Clubs, we go, I think this, or I know this, or I believe this, okay, or this is interesting to me. I think this is interesting. And we fly together with the knowledge of that thing. So the Two of Clubs is going to study that thing further, examining that thing, studying it, analyzing it further, and basically making a connection to it. So you might get the person who at the Ace of Clubs goes, oh, I believe in medicine. And then he enrolls in school and starts studying school at the Two of Clubs. And now he starts connecting with the study of medicine. Or you might have said, I believe in astrology. Wow. And that was your Ace of Clubs. And then you said, I'm going to go study astrology. And at your Two of Clubs is when you came together with your astrological studies. You connected with it. You flew to it. At that point, you're responsible for your astrological studies. The medical student's responsible for his medical studies. So when we fly together and connect with someone or something in order to energize and work towards energizing the thing that we thought about or the idea that we had, that's the Two of Clubs. Okay? Then we have the Two of Diamonds. So the Ace of Diamonds is I have a skill, I have an opportunity, I have a resource. The Two of Diamonds is flying together to use that resource. Okay? Which can mean developing that resource further. It can mean going to where you can use that resource most efficiently or develop that skill most significantly. But it's flying together to connect and actually start working with that opportunity. Okay? Now the threes are exactly the opposite of the twos. Threes, the word is vipat, which means flying apart. So first we fly together to something, and now we have to fly apart. And if we don't, we won't grow. There's a great desire always at the two to stay there. We really want to stay there. We want to fly together and stay there. But life won't let us. We have to fly apart and start getting towards the four and the other numbers. But oftentimes at the two, especially the Two of Hearts, because that's the strongest two there is the Two of Hearts, is that there's this desire to fly together and stay together and never fly apart. But you can't stay at the two. You have to move on to the three, which is the somewhat frustrating, sometimes painful, flying apart. Okay? So with the Three of Spades, the Three of Spades is where you fly apart from what it is that you need to be stronger in your own regard. Okay, so that's like the bird leaving its nest. Okay, it needs to leave its nest, fly away, hopefully fly away out of its nest, and become stronger. after, at the Two of Spades, what did it need? It needed its mother to feed it. So look at a bird following the cycle. A baby bird pops out of the egg and goes, wow, I am alive. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. It cries. Two of Spades comes along. Mommy sticks food in the birdie's mouth. Oh, this is what I need. I need this food. So whenever my mom comes, I'm going to be responsible and open my mouth so I get this food. Then it gets fed. But then one day, that bird needs to leave the nest. It needs to be strong on its own 2 feet. So mommy throws it out, and at the Three of Spades, it's going like this and trying hopefully to fly before it hits the ground. Okay? So at threes, we always have to leave what it is that we came together with so we can develop our own strength. Because without the strength, we're useless. You know, life does not allow for weakness, basically. There's no room for the weak in any area of life, okay? Sometimes the weak can get something given to them for a while, but at the end, everyone has to become stronger. And that happens at the three through flying apart. At flying apart, there's no more ownership, there's no more responsibility, there's no much more control over what you flew away from, and there's no more control of that thing over you. So in the Three of Spades, it's flying apart, leaving what's secure, leaving it what we need to live to develop what we need ourselves to live, okay, to become more independent and more strong and to have a stronger chance of survival because we have the strength. In the natural cycle of the ace of the spades of a tree growing, so at the Two of Spades, the Two of Spades realizes that what it needs to survive is the nourishment of the soil. So it starts sinking those roots into the ground. And it realizes it needs sunlight, so it starts popping 2 little leaves off the top of its head. And then it's mostly anchoring into the soil. And at that point, if you pulled it out, you'd see its roots would be this long. And, you know, its little leaves would be like this big. It's mostly roots. It's sinking. What it really needs is to sink into the ground. And it needs that ground. That's what a newborn seed needs, is ground and the water in the ground. It has lots of energy in its seed to grow for a while. Eventually it's going to need sunlight though. You know, it can't stay in that ground. So it has to start growing tall at the Three of Spades. And that's when the plant starts shooting up and growing tall. And it needs to fly apart from the ground. So it's a flying away from the ground. Well, now the ground will no longer shelter it. It has to fly above the ground and eventually get strong enough to be a sturdy little tree itself. Whereas at first it's like huddling down and getting saved by the ground and protected by the ground. So that's what the Three of Spades is when we make that break to be stronger so we can survive on our own, and we make that break from what we need. So a Three of Spades would be like a teenager moving out of the house or something. Oh, it's time to move out, Three of Spades. Okay, time to be strong and live on your own life. And now that person's no longer, or that thing is no longer responsible for you. Now you're completely self-sufficiently responsible. Three of Hearts. That's the card of flying apart from that which you love. So you fly together, the Two of Hearts, and you bond and you connect to it. But then you have to fly apart, and you have to have that love that you've experienced with that person or that thing. And you have to maintain and hold on to that love while you're apart and spread that love on to others that you come across in healthy ways. And you have to do that without being codependent, basically. So Three of Hearts is the card of, you know, being in love without codependence when it's healthy. So it's like, oh, you have to go do this, and you go do your own thing, and your significant other's doing their own thing, and you're not texting them every 5 minutes and going, who are you doing? You're not checking their Facebook page to see if there's any pictures of them with people of the opposite sex. You know, you're not still being in control. You're still not being dependent, which means codependent. You're being a healthy Three of Hearts, which means you're taking the love that you've had with that person, holding it with you and going about your life, and you know, just not being attached to the single emotional experience. Okay? So Three of Hearts is where the feeling we have loses, becomes non-codependent, becomes non-needy. The Two of Hearts, it's all about, I need you, I have to be with you. Whoomp, well, I have to be with that thing. There's this total pull, this total attraction that I can't escape. And you think about it all day long until you connect with it. But after that, you have to go around the rest of your life. And at the Three of Hearts is the ability to leave that connection while still maintaining it in a healthy way. And that means in a non-codependent way. And if we try to, life will take two people apart. They're going to both have to go to work eventually. But if they can't work, because all they can do is think about each other and miss each other and need each other, and if they get jealous if the other person has to work when they want to play, then that's not a healthy Three of Hearts, and that's going to destroy the Two of Hearts to love. So the ability to Three of Hearts is just leaving the person or the thing that we love, so we can do what's required from us, and which is ultimately to become emotionally more secure, which is at the next step. And with all the threes, you're always doing something that's going to get you to the four. Because as we're going to learn in another video, twos always want to get to the four. If you take the number 2 and you square it, you get the number 4. So the minute you get involved in a 2 thing, you're going to end up at a 4 thing or nothing. And a 4 thing is a secure, stable, committed thing. But to get there, you have to cross the 3, which means you have to separate from it first. Okay? So at the 3 of Hearts, it's separating from that person so you can be emotionally secure and have an emotionally secure relationship at the 4. Okay? With the 3 of Diamonds, that's when you really start developing that skill at a higher level, basically, or that resource or that ability. So at the 2 of Diamonds, you come together and you start working with that opportunity. And that could be like, getting like a base, going somewhere to get a basic education, a basic apprenticeship. But eventually you have to take that skill and make it your own. You can't just copy someone. You have to give it your own independent strength. You have to give it your own little bit of talent. And that's what the 3 of Diamonds is. It's your own independent type of talent or ability that makes it different from something else that you learned. So you have to, again, fly apart, take yourself away a little bit and work on your own strengths, basically. And by strengths, I mean your own abilities, your own innate abilities and talents and skills. And you have to leave the other things behind that might have supported you at that initial stage of the 2 of Diamonds. Okay? And so 3 of Diamonds is a card of basically training your skills in an independent fashion. 3 of Clubs, I don't think I talked about that. 3 of Clubs is flying apart from what you've learned. So at 2 of Clubs, you've learned new stuff, you've connected with new ideas to support the idea that you had at the Ace of Clubs. And at the 3 of Clubs, you want to fly apart from that and not let those things dictate that, not let those things control your thinking. And you want to be an independent thinker and start thinking for yourself. And you'll find people who are 3 of Clubs people, they're just really, really independent thinkers. That's the card of independent thought, basically. And flying apart from the other thoughts that they've depended on for a while so that one can think for itself and get to that 4. So again, 3's sole purpose is really just to get us to the 4. We get to the 2 and we find something we really like. And we always need the 2. We want to connect with it. We want to fly together with it. And at that point, it'll become limiting eventually because we have to sort of make it our own. We have to become secure in our own way. So we have to fly apart to develop on our own to get to the 4. And the key word for the 4, the Sanskrit word, is Shema. Now, She or Sha means security. And Ma, again, means the conscious I, or the conscious mind. So Shema means security in mind. So the 4 is basically being secure in your thing. So after flying apart and developing on your own and developing your own strengths, you finally get to the 4 where you're secure in your own thing. So in the 4 of Spades, a person's secure in their own life, in their own livelihoods. They're secure in their own ability to manage their own lives and survive in this world because of their strengths, not anyone else's, not anything else's. So that's the bird who gets, at the 3 of Spades, gets thrown out of the nest and he's in this vulnerable fly or die position. He flaps his wings, and right before he hits the ground, his wings start working, and he takes his first, soaring out through the trees. That's his 4 of Spades. Oh, I'm secure in this world now because I can fly. Okay? I'm an adult bird, basically. So 4 of spades is that first step of being mature enough to take care of yourself. That's really essentially what it is. Secure enough to live. Secure enough to survive based on your own merit. So it's when the person says, I can survive. I am secure in my abilities to survive. Okay? In the 4 of hearts, it's security in my heart. I'm emotionally secure. I've spent time in separation from that and those which I love. And I still have those people in my life, and I've managed to maintain my heart on my own. I didn't have to be with them and be codependent every minute. And I'm secure in my own heart now. So security in one's heart, or I'm secure in my feelings. That's the 4 of hearts. Then the 4 of clubs is security in my ideas, secure in my knowledge, secure in my philosophy, secure in my beliefs. Okay? So it's always a secure in my something. In the 4 of diamonds, it's I'm secure in my resources. I'm secure in my abilities. I'm secure in my skills. They're honed, they're good, or I'm secure in my resources of the bank account. And I have what it is that I need to be of worth and use in this life, and I'm secure in it. Okay? So 4s are pretty simple, but what's important to understand that they're what the 2 wants to bring us to, but it only does it through that somewhat difficult phase of the 3 of having to fly away from something and work on our own strengths and develop on our own merits, rather than based on that 2 that we love and want to connect to so much. Okay, the next number is a really difficult number, number 5. And I'd say number 5 is certainly the most difficult number that there is. If you look at different card reading books, especially different tarot card reading books, you'll see very different interpretations of 5s by different people. Half of the people say 5s are a number of successful completions and getting something. Other people will say 5s are a number of change because things aren't working out and losing things. So you get these 2 extremes with the 5. And the Hindus, the word they give for the 5 means is pratyara, or is it pratyara, probably pronounced better. And what that literally means is it's the intermediate spokes of a wheel. So all these other keywords were like something you can visualize and it makes sense. Here all of a sudden we got intermediate spokes of a wheel. So I'm going to draw what that looks like. Okay, so here we have a wheel. And here we have spokes. Okay? Now we're going to put the intermediary spokes in, which are the spokes that are there, but oops. Okay. So we have the spokes. We have the red spokes and the black spokes. So the black spokes are intermediary to the black. So it's black, red, black, red. Those spokes are in succession with each other. And that's like having, when spokes are in succession, this wheel is considered to be actually the wheel of time. Okay? So you got the wheel of time turning. Imagine it turning. And everything and everybody and every event is turning on that wheel of time. And time is going to say, it's time for this now. So the spoke comes up, it's time for this. So the spoke of love comes in your life, and time for this, it's time for love in your life. And the wheel turns. So it's the time for your careers now, and the spoke of your career comes up. So the spokes are the events in your life on the wheel of time. And there'll be the spoke you're on, and then there's the spoke in front of you and the spoke behind you. Okay? And those spokes are coming up into your life in a way that you can move forward. But then there's the ones that are one back. So like from the red, there's the black, and then there's the red. The red is 2 spokes behind you. It's not on the same page, the same time schedule as you are. So number 5 is the things that don't happen because they're not lining up with your time frame of your life. And it becomes a missed event or an averted event or an event that doesn't happen. A could have that doesn't happen. Okay? Something that comes into your frame of reference, comes into your space, but is on a different page or on a different spoke on the wheel of time. So as that spoke is going through the wheel of time, it's not connecting to the spoke that you are, basically, and so you miss it. So all the missed opportunities in life are the 5. Okay? All the things that don't come together, all the job opportunities that you didn't get a job, all the people you met and were attracted to who right when you met them moved away, or right when you met them had just met someone the day before and they already had a date, or right when you met them you were shipping out to to serve your country in the military. And so there's these missed opportunities in life. And that's what the number 5 is. And so number 5 is anything that's close to us, that comes into our space, that isn't really ours. Okay? It's really not ours as much as we want it to be, or how much we hope for it to be or think it should be. And sometimes this 5 stuff that comes into our life, we try to control, and we try to make it happen. We try to make it happen the way we want to, more than we should, and then we can get really frustrated with it. So with 5s, the goal is to develop the wisdom to see how, in the greater context of our lives, these missed opportunities weren't really what we needed, weren't what was really meant to be, wouldn't have been good for us in the first place. So it's all the things 5 is all the things we don't get, because getting them would not be good for our greater purpose. And it's for each person to see the wisdom of that in their own lives, or to have the wisdom to see that in their own lives. So, just like the 3 was a difficult step between the 2 and 4, the 5 is sort of a difficult step between the 4 and the 6. And that the 5 is basically, because we have a sense of purpose, because we feel like we should be doing something with our newfound security, because we just got secure at the 4, now we want to do something with it. There's going to be all these possibilities. There's going to be all these, possibilities that we can use to fulfill our purpose of our lives. But only one of them is what's supposed to be. And that's the one that works. And the 5 is basically getting rid of all the ones and passing up all the ones that don't work. And the reason they don't work is because they're on a different page, as we say in America, but they're on a different spoke of the wheel of time, so we don't get it. And eventually we see the wisdom in those things. And by missing all those things, by not getting all those things of the 5, okay, by the 5 not providing, and sometimes the 5 will seem like a really good thing, which after a few weeks you find out is not really a good thing. Or it'll be a really good thing, but you just don't feel right about it. And then a little while later it proves itself not to really be right. So it's all the things that basically are wrong for you that you deal with as you find what's right for you to get to the 6. The 6 is the key word for that is sadhaka, which means the diminutive or the small fulfillment that you can get to. But there's a lot of things in the way of that, and that's the 5. Now, some people might have a 5 in a really nice place in a spread, which means they're going to get around the things that won't work out right away and instantly get what's right. That happens. But more often than not, everything takes some searching and some striving. And it's in that striving and searching that we find what's going to be fulfilling to us in those experiences. And the 5 gives those experiences. So we can say 5 are all the experiences that don't work out, that create the mindset for us to know what will be right for us. Okay? Now, in the 5 of spades, so at the 4 of spades, we feel secure with life. We feel secure that we can live and take care of ourselves. And then we go to the 5 of spades, where now that we have that strength, we want to live better. Simply put, we want to live better, eat better, live in better places, survive in a more fulfilled way, in a safer way, in a more successful way. And at the 5, we start, things that kind of would reduce that success, basically reduce the well-being of our life, okay? Reduce the ability for us to live in a really healthy individual way. Those things can come into attention. So things can come, I want to say opportunities, things can come that aren't right for our life, but present themselves as if they are right for our life. And what we have to do is, you know, they'll always fall apart because they'll seem right, but they'll not be right. And through things not working out for our life, we find ourselves eventually getting put where life is going to work out for us the most. So Five of Spades is basically life not working out really right for us so that we can find out what will really work for us in life. And of all the fives, the Five of Spades is one of the more drastic cards. And oftentimes you'll see if a Five of Spades comes up in a reading that things are just so wrong for what the person's life really requires of them that when the Five of Spades comes up, it's really the time for them to realize all that and make a huge shift in their life. So the Five of Spades is when you make this huge shift in your life because you realize how everything is just not right for you. You're like, no, based on now I'm finally secure, I know I can take care of myself at the Four of Spades. And then you look out your window and you go, yeah, and everything in my life is exactly wrong for me. This is not going to work. And then you do something drastic to get away from all that stuff. Okay? And lots of times that's a card of a huge extreme move or something like that, or an extreme job change, or any extreme change where you just feel like your life is being bottled up and dampened. You know, you just don't feel like you can breathe in your circumstances, and you really might feel depressed. You might feel tired and lethargic. You don't want to get out of bed because everything just feels so heavy and wrong for you. That's the Five of Spades. But the Five of Spades is really, again, becoming free and going past all those things. Okay? Five of Hearts. Five of Hearts is coming to terms with all the things that are wrong for you in your love life, in your emotional life, in what it is that you need emotionally. It's that simply what it is. It's coming to terms with everything that's wrong in that picture, that doesn't work for you, that you want, that you're not getting, and struggling to work that out. Okay? And again, you can't do that until you become emotionally secure at the Four. So at the Two of Hearts, you fall in love. And when you fall in love with the Two of Hearts, everything's perfect. But then the Three of Hearts forces you to grow into becoming a more emotionally secure person. And now that you're an emotionally secure person at the Four of Hearts, you can evaluate your heart's life, your emotional life in a healthier way. And you can say, well, geez, a lot of my needs are just not being met, or my needs are really being met. But at the Two of Hearts, you don't see that. Two of Hearts, you're like, oh, I'm in love, everything's so great. And everyone who knows you is saying, this is not going to work, this is wrong for you. But you don't realize it until you get to the Five of Hearts, what's wrong in that picture. And if your Five of Hearts is in a nice place in the spread, you realize what you're missing, because there's always going to be something missing. But it's not so much that it's a deal breaker. The worst placement of a Five of Hearts in a spread would show, oh, you've realized that you've just been blindsided, you had the rosy colored glasses on, and this is totally wrong for you emotionally. So that's the quality of the Five of Hearts. And it basically shows you everything that you're not getting that's wrong with your emotional life. Okay? The Five of Clubs is, I would say, a much more mellow five than a lot of the other fives. Five of Spades is like really intense in the context of your entire life. Five of Hearts can be somewhat disappointing in your emotional life. Five of Clubs just lets you know that you have a lot more studying to do, a lot more learning to do, a lot more thinking to do before you're going to really be a master. You know, at the Four of Clubs, you got secure. At the Five of Clubs, you start seeing all the holes in your theory. Because, you know, when you're secure, you can start looking at something with a more open mind. When we're insecure, we get defensive. But when we're secure in our knowledge, then we can start naturally seeing the problems in the knowledge and sorting those out and coming to a better understanding and throwing out the things that don't work in our philosophy or knowledge or idea It's what the 5 of clubs is all about. So it's that step of synthesizing everything better, making everything more efficient, getting rid of the stuff that doesn't work in our ideas, or whatever it is we're working. It would be the phase of like proofreading or editing your book that you wrote too, where you're going through it and you've written it and it's solid, but you still know it can be improved upon, that there's some things out of place and it needs some further work. So the 5 of clubs is sort of streamlining something to make it more efficient, to make it better, to make it more accurate, and basically to become weed out the things that are keeping a person from being a master of whatever topic the club is involved in. Okay, 5 of diamonds. 5 of diamonds is a realization that no matter what it is you have today, no matter what it is that you're securing today, it's not going to be worth as much in 5 years. So if I have $1 million now, what I can buy with that now will not buy me the same much in 5 years. So if I just sit onto that $1 million, I'm going to be poorer in 5 years. Okay? It's like that with everything. Diamonds, as I've talked about, also have to do with athletic skill. So let's say the athlete who ran 5 mile or a 4-minute mile the first time, and he broke that record. He became secure as a strong runner, and 4-minute mile is the fastest. But then say a year later, someone comes along and runs a 3:59. That's the first guys, the 4-minute milers, 5 of diamonds, realizing that if he's not going faster, someone else is going to break his records, and that you always have to keep developing your skills. You got to go faster. You got to make more money. If you're not making more money compared to the rate of inflation, you're actually making less money. If you're not getting a little faster, you're getting slower. If you're not getting more fans as a musician because you're doing great music, you're going backwards. So the 5 of diamonds is just realizing that things are always increasing, and you have to keep up with that increase, or else you will not be as useful and not be as valuable. Another important part of the 5, probably one of the most important, is say you're a skilled worker, say you're a surgeon, a doctor, any profession that takes a lot of skill, and you graduate and you start your practice, and at your 4 diamonds you stabilize and you set up your practice. But then every few years you got to go back for a little extra training to keep up with the new technologies, the new discoveries. And the 5 of diamonds is that constant need to keep up with the new technology, the new discovery, so that you're constantly keeping your skill level at that highest point, so that you maintain the same value. So if you're the best surgeon in something, if in 20 years you haven't learned any of the newest discoveries, in 20 years someone half your age is going to show up and be a better surgeon than you. So if you want to maintain your value as a good surgeon, you have to constantly keep training. So the 5 of diamonds is an event that makes us realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not worth as much as I used to be. Financially, it's like, oh my gosh, bread costs $4 a loaf now. I remember when it cost $1 a loaf. And I'm only making the same much as I did back then, which means I'm only worth 25% as much now as I was there. So it's an event that sparks that realization. It's an event that sparks the realization that you've lost value because you haven't kept up with the demands of the time or the changes of the time. So it's a signal of time to make some changes in your life so you can maintain the same level of integrity and value in the world and with yourself, and whether that's financial or on your skill level. If a musician is really doing well, say he's considered the greatest guitar player in the world, and so he is the greatest guitar player and he just settles into that role, and 10 years later some punk shows up and now he's the greatest guitar player. It's like, wait a minute, and they realize, gosh, it's kind of true, I really haven't gotten any better on the guitar in 10 years. And then it's like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to work harder to become a greater guitar player, or just kind of settle into letting it go? So it's keeping up with inflation. Financial inflation, the inflation of the fact that every record will be broken eventually, and the only way to keep the record is to keep on keeping the record, okay? Keep on making the record. And ultimately, the 5 of diamonds is realizing that things are always progressing. And it's an event that makes you realize that you haven't progressed as quickly as everything around you has. So you've lost value relative to that thing. And now how do you want to handle it? Okay? So 5's goal is to get us to the 6. The 6, the key word is sadaka. Now sadaka means diminutive fulfillment. Okay? Sada means like fulfillment, and sada means complete fulfillment, like the fulfillment of liberation in God's presence. So they add a K-A to the end, a ka, which means itsy bitsy. Okay? So the 6 is the little fulfillment versus the grand fulfillment of God. And so the sadaka simply means the greatest fulfillment that's possible with things of the world. So all the things that we're looking for in life, that we pursue in life, that we hope to achieve in life, we do because we want to be fulfilled. And all those things, the greatest degree to which any of those things can fulfill us is at the number 6. That's as good as those things get. And the Hindus call that the little fulfillment as compared to the big fulfillment. And it's good to keep in mind that that's what it's called, so that when you get a 6 coming up, it just means the most fulfilling thing possible in this world. But don't get ahead of yourself and think this is going to bliss you out for the rest of your life. Because that's what happens so often when you make predictions. You make a prediction for someone, you say, oh yeah, you're going to meet a guy and marry him. And they're like, oh my God, the astrologer predicted it. This is going to be such a fulfilling and miraculous, amazing experience. And you want to remember, no, it's not. It's a number 6 experience. It's a small fulfillment that the world has to give. And really, it's no better than the guy you married 20 years ago, which was also a small fulfillment that the world has to give. So people get really pumped up and inflated. Whenever we see a good prediction, we automatically go into number 9 mode, which means complete fulfillment mode. But no, we're at number 6 mode. The highest fulfillment we can get in the world is the fulfillment of number 6. It's a little fulfillment. It's a healthy fulfillment. It's a good fulfillment to have. And the only way it's ruined is if we expect it to be the fulfillment instead of the little fulfillment. So it's important to keep in mind this is the small fulfillment. It's the best thing possible in the world, which is only so much. Okay? So a 6 comes up, it means you're going to get fulfilled by something of the world. Okay? 6 of spades is you get fulfilled by the world, by life in the world, in a way that works out just right for you. It's a great card where you get all your needs met. All your struggles come to an end. Anything that was burdening, paining you, bothering you gets healed at the 6 of spades. It's as good as you're going to feel in this world. It's as healthy as you're going to feel in this world. It's as healthy as your life is going to be in this world. It's as healthy as your psychology is going to be when it comes to dealing with things of the world. That's what the 6 of spades is. Okay? The 6 of hearts is as much fulfillment as you're going to get in your emotional life or in your relationship life. It's as much fulfillment as is possible. Okay? The 6 of clubs is this is as much fulfillment as this is as much as you're capable of understanding with your intellect. You know, the intellect just simply can't grasp more. This is the limits of your wisdom and understanding, what you as an individual brain organ can comprehend. Okay, this is as good as it gets. This is the understanding that you're capable of. And it's like, it's a fulfilling thing. It's being that master of knowledge in the sense of a master in the world. Okay? So you're that author whose every book is a bookseller and every book is so original and inventive and full of new ideas. And that's the 6 of clubs, where every book they write is a success novel. Every book they write is on the New York Times bestseller, top 10 bestseller list for the first 6 months that it's out. That's the achievement of the 6 of clubs. It's that the most fulfillment possible from any inspiration. Because again, all clubs are following our inspirations. And we're going to learn a lot more keywords for the clubs in I think the next video. that we haven't talked about. But adventures, inspirations, careers, and having fulfillment with those things is all the 6. So the highest success we're going to have with anything that's an inspiration, something that, or anything of that nature, is going to be the 6 of clubs. Okay, 6 of diamonds is financial success. Okay, it's financial success that we've worked towards, that we've planned towards, that's worked out exactly as planned. Therefore, it's the good investments. It's the right business that pays off. We can also have unexpected successes that come out of the blue because we're good merit. But this 6 of diamonds is you've taken your skills, your resources, your intelligence, and you've worked them to have the highest success possible with them that you really deserve. And that's the 6 of diamonds. And one thing about all 6s is that when you get a 6, you really deserve it because you've worked towards it. You know, you've done the work to get that thing. You know, at the 6 of hearts, you've done the emotional work to deserve that 6 of hearts love. At the 6 of diamonds, you've done the material work, you've developed the skills to deserve that fulfillment of the 6. And one of the reasons 6s are so deserving is that when you look back, you go, yeah, you know, I deserve it because I worked through it and I matured and I became this person who can have this fulfillment. Even as the 6 of clubs author, let's say, or any other 6 of clubs really inspired person. They've worked towards their inspirations and they deserve that fulfillment. But then there's the things that we really don't seem to deserve that just happen. Like the person who just wins lotto. You know, walks into, buys a lottery ticket with a 6-pack, goes home and gets drunk and wakes up next morning a billionaire. You know, he got this thing, he got this boon, right? But it's not that fulfillment of the 6 that, yeah, I really worked towards this. You know, I really worked towards this and I deserve it. I feel really good about myself for having it. And that's one of the great things about the 6, that you know you really deserve it, whatever it is. So 6 of diamonds isn't going to be the card that necessarily gives a person the most money. And the 6 of clubs is not going to be the card that gives the person the greatest intelligence. And the 6 of hearts is not necessarily going to be the card that gives the person the most love. And the 6 of spades is not going to be the card that makes the person's life the most safest and protected it's going to be. But all those 6s are what the person deserves the most based on their actions. But then there's the weird things in life that just happen, okay, that are above and beyond our conscious control, which sometimes can destroy all that fulfillment, and other times give us much, much greater fulfillment than we would have ever thought we could have achieved or that we even deserved. And that's when it comes to these last 3 numbers, 7, 8, 9. Okay, of last in the set of 1 through 9. And those are the numbers that all get a little more interesting and a little more involved than these first 6 numbers, which are relatively simple. So, number 7, the key word is vada, which means destruction. 7's the number of things getting destroyed. Whatever it is that you find fulfillment in, the nature of this world is change and destruction, which is destruction. Change is just one thing getting destroyed and getting something else. So all good things will come to an end. It's just a matter of time. And that's the 7, is that things are going to end. Things are limited. Things are not immortal. Nothing lasts forever. Fate can intervene anytime and uproot and destroy your life. Huge changes beyond your control can always be there. And that 7 make us aware that this exists. But until we experience a 7, like we have a 7 slap us in the face, we're sort of in denial about it. Like, you know, one philosopher wrote, some Western author or something, that the most amazing thing about humans to him was that even though we see other people dying, everyone sort of feels immortal themselves, like they'll never die themselves, and squanders their time as if they're never going to die. So until death really slaps us in the face, you know, it's, you know, we're not really aware of it the way it should be. Until the 7 really comes and takes something, destroys something, then we don't really become aware of really a whole nother level of existence in life. And that level of existence is that everything will be lost. How are you going to deal with it? And that's what the 7 is here to show. And that's really the most serious after your diminutive fulfillment. So let's say you got a job as a dishwasher and you get fired. That's not a big deal, right? You even care because you weren't really fulfilled as a dishwasher. But let's say you got a chain of restaurants going and you had the best restaurant in town and you had 10 of them in the greater metropolitan area and everything was great. And then one day somebody gets sick in your restaurant and dies and all your restaurants get closed down and you lose it all at the 7. That's like, whoa, I lost everything that was so great. Or let's say you have your 6th relationship, the most fulfilling relationship that life has offered you, and that person dies. Then it really matters. So 7 comes after the 6 because it's the things that are destroyed or that we lose that really matter. And if we haven't been fulfilled by something, does it really matter if we've lost it? Doesn't really matter, right? It's the thing that's most fulfilling, which is the 6, the thing that we deserve the most, that we've worked towards, that we've matured to deserve. It's when that thing gets taken away that we have something to feel sorry about at the 7. Let's just take like an athlete who trains his body, someone who trains to get strong. They get strong, they get strong, they get strong. And then one day they get hit by a car and they're crippled at the 7. And now they've lost all their physical strength, all their speed. And just think how hard that is for them to bear having done that. Compare that to a guy who's a couch potato who just sits in his chair all day watching TV anyway and has a sit-down job at his computer. And he goes and breaks his back. It's not going to make that much difference to him because he was never fulfilled in the use of his body the way the other person was. So the things that are fulfilling, it's when we lose them that it hurts the most. And that's why the 7, the destruction in our life that matters, the things we lose in our life that matters, always come after the 6. And the truth is, everything is going to be lost. It's just a matter of time, okay? It's just a matter of time. You're going to lose it. If best case scenario, you lose it because you die, okay? But of all the things in life, more things are going to get lost before we die, and then the last few things get lost when we die. So they're going to die, and we have to learn how to deal with that. So the 7 of Spades is realizing that the life in our body will die, that it's limited. So the 7 of Spades is when serious illness comes on, when the illness comes on that can take us to the grave. When we start getting life-threatening illnesses and diseases, have a heart attack. You know, when we see that, wow, the life within us is at the limits of how it's going to live in this body. This body's at the end of its rope. Okay? It's limited in what it can do. So it's coming to terms with our physical limitations is what the 7 of Spades is all about. And it's always something destructive or troublesome or painful that shows us our limits. Okay? So it could be the person who, you know, like has a heart attack and realizes the limits of their body and then has to stop pushing themselves as hard and taking better care of themselves and resting more, not being a workaholic or whatever. Okay? So 7 of Spades is destruction of life, destruction of the body. That makes us realize our limits of our life and our body. 7 of Hearts is realizing that is the destruction of love. Well, what does that mean? It basically means that love is, with all the 7s, the interesting thing about 7s is that life wants to keep going. And as I talked about in the Spades, life is about evolving. And there comes a point where everything can't evolve further. But then life still wants to evolve further. And so it breaks the shell. So at the 7 of Spades, it starts breaking the shell of the body. That life wants to keep going. But it can't evolve further with this body and this brain and this personality. So life kills that body so that life can go on to inhabit another body. And continue to evolve. And everything is like that. Everything we find fulfillment with eventually becomes a limited area of where life can evolve. So in the Seven of Hearts, at the Six of Hearts, we had a fulfilling relationship, a fulfilling emotional experience. But life wants more than that. The life that's within a person, the life that feels, wants greater love than that. Okay? It wants divine love, ultimately. Life is striving for the divine experience, not for a worldly experience. And the Seventh is either where that life basically realizes it's not going to get the divine experience it's looking for, so it suffers disappointment. So at the Seven of Hearts, that's the realization that as good as that sixth love is, it's not quenching the needs of the soul's love. And so that's a card of being emotionally disappointed, emotionally unclear of what one wants. It's a card of letting go of relationships. It's a card of a loved object or a loved person dying or leaving, and making a person aware of how much love they really want, how much need for love they have. So it's the love within us that wants to experience a deeper connection than is capable with the things in the world. And with all sevens, it's basically having that thing without ego. So it's love without ego, ultimately. It's not love for the ego's sake, but it's love that encompasses a greater love than just the love that the ego needs to feel good about itself. Okay? So at the Seven of Hearts, love doesn't feel good to the ego anymore. And that means the love gets taken away, or the love starts being disrespectful, or the love starts being critical. Basically, the love is not there or stops feeling validating to the ego anymore. And so love is destroyed. At all sevens, a person has to take the next step to find that love or find that thing within themselves in a greater, more meaningful way, which gets to at the 8. But the 7 is that phase of losing it. So it's the phase of love being destroyed. Okay, love coming to an end. So 7 of Hearts means an emotional disappointment, or rather an emotional shock to the system. Okay, a big emotional disappointment. 7 of Clubs is again, destruction of one idea. 6 of Clubs, the person has the best, is having the most success with their inspirations and ideas as possible in this world. At the 7, all that comes crumbling down, and it's just not cutting it for them. It's just not enough. It's not satisfying enough. They just still can't live with it. And so everything feels off and wrong when you see a 7 of Clubs come up. When you see the 7 of Clubs come up, life is just not working in accordance with the person's paradigm, with accordance with the person's inspirations, what the person's inspired to or hopes to do. There's just not an outlet for it to really happen, or they just don't have the ability to really make it happen, so they're in a crisis of some sort. 7 of Diamonds. At the 6 of Diamonds is the best most success we can have based on what we've worked towards. At the 7 of Diamonds, it's like the card of a gamble, where for every million things, one thing works out and the other ones don't. So it's a card of trying, but things rarely working out. It a lot of times will give the abilities and resources to make efforts, but the efforts made almost always fail. They just don't work out. Things just don't fall into place. So whatever person's working to build tends to crumple and fall apart at the 7 of Diamonds. And it's occasionally a 7 of Diamonds will come up in the spread just in the right place and just the right way, that 7 of Diamonds can be the 1 in a million lucky one. But most 7 of Diamonds are when practical things just don't work. So you make a decision to start this job, 7 Diamonds comes up in the spread, and it shows that the job is not going to work out as expected. There's going to be a lot of crisis around the job, and you're going to lose the job. 7 of Diamonds is a really strong card of physical or concrete expectations failing a person. Dependable things not working out as expected, is what the Seven of Diamonds is all about. And it is actually a pretty big crisis card, as are all sevens. Okay, so sevens is destruction of the element. Seven of Diamonds is destruction of your resources, your skills, and abilities. Seven of Spades is destruction of your health and your life. Seven of Hearts is the breaking of your heart. Seven of Clubs is the breaking of your mind, the breaking of your thoughts, the breaking of your inspirations, the breaking of your philosophy. The crisis is to all those things. And all those things have the purpose to get us to the number 8. And you might have noticed now that from numbers 1 through 9, 9 is the goal we're trying to get to. 5 is in the middle of those. 5 is a middle number. And it's one of the transitory places. Okay? And then between 1 and 5 we have the 3. Between 5 and 9 we have the 7. So all 3, 5s, and 7s are all transitory states. The 5 is like the middle. The 3 is the transition between the beginning and the middle. The 7 is the transition between the middle and the completion. 3, 5s, and 7s are the cards that create the problems in our life, basically. We haven't figured that out yet, okay, based on what I'm talking about then. But the goal is to get to the 9. Of all these cards is to get us to the 9. So the 7 messes with the 6 because it wants us to get to the 8. The 6 is the card of life being fulfilled with something of the world. And what is that? That's the itsy-bitsy fulfillment. The life within you, which is the life of your soul, that's just not good enough for it. Your ego loves that 6. As long as the ego is getting pampered in the diminutive fulfillment area and getting treated like special all the time and having everything work out for itself every day, the ego is really happy. But this life within you isn't happy with that paltry satisfaction. So it creates these 7 situations that ruin your life. Okay, it's the life within you that ruins these things. And sometimes people are aware of it. They'll have a really good thing, and they'll just be gnawing at the bit. You know, that good thing they can't digest it. It's like, no, I need to get my system shocked into a deeper realization of self. And so they'll do something that ruins their life in order to get this deeper experience of their self. Basically, they'll ruin the 6 on purpose to get to the 8. Okay, and they'll do it through the 7. They'll destroy something. So when people are in this 6th phase, the truth is we only can stay there so long before something shifts within us and we have to mess it up or destroy it. I don't know if everyone saw that movie, The Matrix, right? So in The Matrix, first the computers that were running everything made all the sleeping humans have these beautiful, perfect lives. But the humans resisted that programming and they rejected that ideal, and lots of them just died in shock from these beautiful, nice, harmonious lives. So the computers had to reprogram all the thoughts coming into the humans' minds to have tragedies, just to be like our life, right? So that we can deal with it. Because there's a part of us that deeply wants those upsets in life that allow us to have the deeper self-realizations. 8 and 9 are those cards of those deeper self-realizations. 7 is where, the heavy programming comes in that breaks the good stuff that we've deserved and worked towards at the 6, so we can have the deeper realizations of the 8 and 9. And when the 7 comes, we love to complain. The truth is, deep down inside, we know we were begging for that 7 all along. Okay, because we want to get to the 8. 8 is Maitra, which means friendly. We want to become friendly. And that's such a funny term that you would think of it. In India, this idea of friendship was of paramount importance. In fact, in Indian philosophy, friendship is the highest relationship. And, the most praised people are those people who are friends, true friends. And there's always a theme of friendship that goes on amongst the heroes of the tales from ancient India. So being friendly is something that's really high. It's not like how he's just a friend, he's a drinking buddy. Yeah, and when he's not busy, I'm not busy, we go drinking, and if I need help, if he's not busy, he might come. That's how we kind of think of friendship. But this idea of friendship, from India was much a deeper idea, in that being friendly is basically being at peace with everything in the world. Being friendly is not needing anything. Okay, being friendly is truly seeing someone else being fed as good as you being fed. Okay, being friendly is being at peace and harmony with everything in the world and not needing anything from the world either. And that's a really hard state to get to. At that point, you're friendly with everything. Let's say you have the need to survive, and your survival's threatened at the 7 of spades because there's a shortage of food. And you're going to die if you don't get the food. But that person over there is going to die if they don't get the food either. You can't be that person's friend anymore, can you? Until you step into the 8. Okay? At the 8, you become a friend of the world and you go ahead and eat. If I'm hungry, it's no big deal. You're at peace with yourself to such a degree that you don't have a hunger that would ever make you want to eat before someone else is hungry. Same emotionally. Say you're in love with someone, and someone else is in love with that someone, and that someone has to love you or that person. Well, that person might love instead of you is not going to be your friend. They're your enemy. They're your enemy all the way till number 7, okay? But the number 8, you have no more needs for love. You have no more needs for your ego to be pampered by love. So you can actually be a friend to both those people. And if it works out best that those two people are together, you can be truly happy and friends to them. Real friends. So that's what friendship really is. Being friendly means I have everything, so I'm naturally a friend to everyone I come across. Because if I meet someone who's hungry, I can give them my food because I'm content in my hunger. If I meet someone who needs love, and someone wants to give you love instead of me, I'm content in that person giving them love because I have enough love for myself. I'm at peace with my love. I don't need it from you. It's sure fun to enjoy it, but I don't need it. You can eat. If that person needs it more, go be with them. It's more important for me to go with. If you're with them, I can be a true friend. So that's what the 8 is about. It's getting over all the need so that we can be true friends with everything in this world, with every experience that happens. Okay? And then we have a whole nother level of fulfillment. Then we're not stuck with the little fulfillment of begging from the world what we can be given. It's not like begging for their ego to get validated and loved and be given to and getting rewarded for our hard work and being praised and getting a medal at the 6 of clubs for our achievements. It's not about that. And then, of course, at the 6, being upset if you don't win it, and you get stuck at the 5 and being jealous at the person who did win it, who's had a 6 and you had a 5 and didn't win it, right? Or you getting a 7 and losing big time. It's not about any of that. It's about just this knowingness that I'm complete within myself, that everything I have is a reflection of who I am and what I am. And so the only thing to have is myself, and the only thing to lose is myself. And I'm no longer a beggar in this world. That's what the 8 is like on the deepest plane. And 8 is a process of working towards a deeper connection to yourself, where you see that everything is a reflection of your inner state. That if something's causing you disharmony on the outside, it's because of a disharmony inside yourself. So you take care of the disharmony inside yourself, and then you're a friend with the thing that was bothering you. Instead of something bothering you and you hating it, criticizing it, yelling at it, talking bad about it, trying to understand it because that's the problem. No. If something bothers you, if you see someone that you hate them or don't like something about them, it's because you have a problem in yourself. And the 8 realizes, oh, I've got an issue here. Let me work it out, works it out, and then they can be a friend with that other thing too. So that's what friendly is. Friendly is you're at peace with yourself. Like the Bible says, love yourself first and then love everyone else. Which means be at peace with yourself and you can be a friend with everyone else, right? And that's really what the 8 is all about. It's a much higher level of fulfillment than any of these. Anyone with a brain would choose the 8 over the 6. But we don't, because everyone who has a brain is also sadly born with an ego. And so the ego wants to hang on to here, So the ego gets its butt kicked at the 7, and that, once the ego gets its butt kicked, we can slip to where we really want to be, which is the 8. But we don't realize we want to be there because it hurts the ego so much to get his butt kicked at the 7. I have this friend of mine, he's a monk, and he used to say, this is what I love when it comes to 7. This is my 7 philosophy. He used to say, you know, someone would say, he'd be counseling with him, and they'd say, oh, it really hurts. I'm just hurting so much. He would just go like this. He'd go, so what? What hurts? The ego hurts. Who cares? You know, that was his attitude. And that's the 7. That's what life, the life within you that wants to experience this 8, says to your ego at the 7. So what? You're hurting. Who cares? You're the ego. Who gives a shit about you? And life makes life happen anyway to give you a chance to get to the 8. And even in the Bible it says, God is no respecter of persons, which means the life is no respecter of the ego. And it does not care how the ego feels. And then you experience that, or rather your ego does, at the 7, to get you into this friendly state. So if you can truly cross into the 7, into this friendly state of the 8, then you're going to be more fulfilled than anything you had at the 6. Because everything you have at the 6 can be threatened by destruction, right? You have this beautiful fulfillment from the world at the 6, and it can be destroyed at any moment. And then what are you going to have? Nothing. And you know it when you're at the 6, so you constantly struggle not to get to the 7. But if you can just go through the 7 and get to the 8, you can never lose again. Okay, at that point, you have power. One of the key words a lot of card readers use for 8 is power and success. It's at the 8 that you actually have power with something and success with something. Okay? So at the 8 of spades, you have the power to survive anything. You have the power to go through anything. Because you see everything as simply something you need to go through for your own experience. No matter how painful, how difficult, you see everything as life just burning the gross off you to make you a better person. And so you can go through anything. At the 8 of hearts, you have the power, you're emotionally powerful. And 8 of hearts can show a person who a lot of people are attracted to, because 8 of hearts is this emotionally powerful person, this person who's centered in their emotions, healthy with their emotions, and that's extremely attractive to people. And so people will be drawn to that lots of times. So some people look at the 8 of hearts as a card of socially making lots of connections. But it's deeper than that. It's being able to be an emotional friend to everybody, because one is emotionally centered in themselves without need for other people's affections, without need for other people's love, without need for other people's emotional validations, any of that stuff. They just have love in their hearts, and so they naturally share love with others. They don't need love from other people, but since they have love, they can share love. So 8 is getting past that point of needing anything from the outside world. And it's a difficult thing to step into, because you got to cross the 7, which means you have to drop your ego's needs for those things. The ego's not capable of the 8. 7 is destruction of the ego consciousness, and the degree to which we can drop the ego consciousness determines the degree of friendliness that we can have, which means determines the degree of inner fulfillment that we can have, and when we have that, we can be a friend with everything. So the goal is not to be friend with everything. The goal is to have the self-fulfillment that we don't need anything from this world anymore. So we're no longer beggars anymore. Instead, we're empowered by ourselves. So that's the option at the 8. Do you want to be a beggar and stick to the 7, which is Saturn, the beggar? Or do you want to step past the 7 into the 8 and have the power to be fulfilled within yourself? How do you know if you're fulfilled within yourself? How do you know? It's by your friendliness with the people and things in the world. If you experience any frustrations, any angers, any lack of poise with anyone or anything in the world, any need, or you want something, because when you want something, you're not a friend to it anymore, that shows you that you're not at peace with yourself completely. So it's in our lack of friendship in the world and our friendship with the things in the world is the signal to the 8 to show the 8 where it still needs to work to get to a deeper level. which means to get more and more past the 7. So the goal is inner poise and inner completion. But we see that in our relationships to everything in the world. That's how we know if it's real. Because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm enlightened, I'm self-fulfilled, I'm self-controlled. But then watch what they're doing. And they need to watch themselves. Are they overreacting to things still? In which case, they're not completely there yet. So it's in our friendly relationships with other people that we can see if we're on the 8 or not. Okay. 8 of hearts, 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs is when we're friendly with knowledge. We're centered in knowledge. At that point, the person's understanding opens to such a degree that anything they put their mind to immediately flourishes into a truth, without even deserving it. At the 6 of clubs, they had to study and work hard towards those understandings and truth. At the 8 of clubs, anytime a person puts their mind to anything, they start getting the truth coming to their minds. They start getting the understanding, and they don't even deserve it. They can just start focusing on an unrelated topic and understand it more than someone who studied it for 20 years in a few days. It's not, they don't even deserve it anymore. Just the knowledge just flows. And there's just that, and anything they're inspired to do, the minute they start thinking, I'm inspired to do this, it just starts happening for them. It's not about waiting 5 years to get there. Just kind of everything just starts happening for them. It's the power of mind to give instant results and instant knowledge as soon as we focus with the power of our mind. Because remember, 8 is power and success as well. And, okay, so 8 of clubs is a powerful card. And again, it's how does a person achieve that 8? It's by being friendly with everything. If a person has ideas that this is truth and this is not truth, and this religion is right and this religion is wrong, and this person's right and this person's wrong, and they're not friendly with everything, they won't be able, their brain will not be able to make the connections that leads to a higher level of thinking. It's only when we can see the truth in everything we come across, because we're not having any walls against anything, that our brain can make those kind of connections that the 8 of clubs is capable of making. Connections of deeply understanding something, but also connections to know exactly what to do to pave the road to success for anything that we hope to achieve. Okay, number 9 is most highly friendly. It's Parama Matra. Matra means friendly. Parama means like the highest achievement. So 9 is just the 8 on a deeper level. And Parama can also be looked as, it can also be translated as divine. More literal is most highly, but divine is of course the most high. And that level of friendship is connecting to something deeper. At the 8, you've connected to the truths of yourself. Life is no longer looking outside for fulfillment at the 8. Life is finding fulfillment with itself in the 8. But then that life still wants to go further. It wants to find fulfillment with the greater ocean of life itself. It wants to tune into something greater than itself. It doesn't want to be alone. Because at 8, life is fulfilled with itself, and it doesn't need anything, but it's alone. And so it's not the highest fulfillment. At the 9, that life plugs into something deeper than the self, than the embodied self. And that's the most highly friendly. So the 9 is always looked at as a divine card. So 9 of hearts people will say is divine love. 9 of diamonds is divine giving. 9 of clubs is divine understanding. So lots of times people just throw the word divine for the 9. But it's just the highest level of that card's experience, which means that card is connecting to the deeper essence of life. It's connecting to life itself, to that deeper body of life. It always helps to take everything to the spade, because that's the embodied life that is having the heart's experiences and having the club's experience and having the diamond's experiences. So that embodied life, imagine this life rushing into the tree from the earth itself, rushing into the tree and growing this tree with its fruits. And that tree is going, I'm alive. And at the 8 it goes, I'm alive and I'm completely whole. I have everything I need for every happiness and wonder, power and success. I'm completely healthy, psychologically healthy and everything. But now the tree needs to go, wait a minute, all this life that's flowing into me is flowing into me from the earth. And I want to be part of that. I want to connect to that now. I want to be one with that thing. And that's what happens at the 9. We become deeper connected to the truth of life. Rather than at the 8, we become deeply connected to the truth of ourselves. Okay? So, that happens at the 9. Now, the 9 of spades, that happens because the life leaves the body in permanent death. Okay? When that life leaves the body and breaks the body in death, that life connects to the greater life. So 9 of spades is the card of the death or end of the embodied life. Okay? 9 of spades is a card that's like the card of yogi too. It's the best yoga card of, of consciously dying, stopping the heart, stopping the lungs, making the body effectively dead, so that the consciousness that can connect to the real life. That's what yoga is. Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda was a 9 of spades. And his name was Yogananda, bliss through yoga. Okay? So, he embodied the 9 of spades. So 9 of spades is death of the body that allows our consciousness to merge with what's greater. And that's actual death, but it's also any experience. It can be a car accident where our heart stops for 30 seconds and then we get resuscitated and we saw the light and the tunnel and all that cool stuff. But any experience that makes us forget the body and let go of the body and connect to life on a deeper way. Another way we can look at that, it's also any psychological experience that does that. It can be an experience that lets us let go of some psychological thing and embrace something greater. So a fear can be embraces something greater, and the fear can die in that embrace. Okay? So 9s are always about the death of something limiting as our consciousness embraces something greater. That's what the 9 of spades is. The natural way for that to happen is simply the body dies, but there's other ways for it to happen. The 9 of hearts is the card of divine love. It's the card of loving because it's the nature of life to love. It's not the card of loving because we want something. So you see a 9 of hearts come up in a spread, it usually indicates that things are not going to work out for the person to get the object of their love, but instead they'll learn to love without ownership, love without possession, but just to love because loving is just the natural quality of that life that grows everything, that life that is the life of our soul. Its most natural quality and its most natural level of sharing and expression is love. And the 9 of hearts is that. And we realize that capacity when things don't work out. The 9 of hearts is an experience where something doesn't work out concretely the way we want it to, but instead we find our hearts filling with love anyway. It's wait a minute. She's walking off to the sunset without me. I feel so much love. That's a 9 of hearts experience. Okay? Or this person died. My mother died, and I feel my spouse died, and all I feel is love for the whole world. That's a 9 of hearts experience, okay? It's a deeper connection to love, the fact that life is love itself, and some experience that helps us connect to that in a deeper way. 9 of clubs. 9 of clubs is making the effort to connect to knowledge in a deeper way, to connect to that true source of knowledge. That's beyond the intellect, that's beyond the mind, to that intuitive knowingness that all knowledge and wisdom comes from. 9 of clubs is somewhat of an introverted card that can indicate a time to take a time alone for thoughts and deep thinking and contemplation and studies, but it's a very hermetic type card of trying to, through concentration, trying to connect to a deeper understanding to something, of whatever it is that the person's involved with. Okay? The interesting about clubs is clubs are very flexible in what they deal with. Whatever we're inspired for is what we get our clubs involved with. Say you're inspired towards love, What are you going to do? You're going to study everything you can about love and learn how to have love better, right? Say you're inspired to be a great athlete. What are you going to do? You're going to spend time studying training. You're going to use your clubs to fuel whatever, to feed and progress along any inspiration you have. So 9 of clubs just means you're trying to get a deeper connection to your inspiration, whatever that may be. And clubs can connect to all the suits because they're adaptable. They're whatever you're inspired towards and the energy you put into that inspiration. And for humans, that means all the mental energy that we put into it, to learn about it, to focus on it, to dream about it. Then we have the 9 of diamonds. So 9 of diamonds is the card of abundance. It's the card of just wealth flowing through the person, an abundance of skills, an abundance of wealth, abundance of resources flowing through a person. So a person literally can become a channel of charity. And 9 of diamonds, you'll see a lot of people who've started charities, those type of things, or who are heavily involved with them, are 9 of diamonds people. People have realized an abundance that comes from giving. If you read books on manifesting finances, a big part of that process is that of giving and charity. And in fact, the biggest remedy for financial trouble is to donate money and give charity. Yeah, you don't have enough money to pay your bills, so what do? You give 10% to some church or some organization of your income that you don't even have to give. Next thing you know, your income goes up, or your money somehow comes in. So it's to any type of financial remedy to the financial problems in your life, they don't really work well unless you donate, that you give money. Because in that giving, you're letting money move through you. You're letting the universe, the wealth, the resource of the universe move through you. And that's what the 9 of diamonds essentially is. It's connecting to the wealth of life. That life has the ability to attract whatever it is that it needs. Because the diamonds are all of our resources, wherever we need to live. The tree stands on the earth. Our life stands on the diamonds. Whatever it is we need to live is the earth, the diamonds. And we can attract it when we need it. So the 9 of diamonds is a high card of prosperity, where prosperity is getting what you need. And knowing that, and when a person has that, they become very charitable and very giving, because they know always life will flow into them in a way that allows them to get what they need. Okay? So you'll find 9 of diamonds people, when a 9 of diamonds comes up, it's a time of selfless giving. Okay? Or a time of learning to give selfishly. Now, in life, all these 9s sound so good. So when you see a 9 come up, you're like, all right, I'm at the end of the road. I wish it was that easy. Because we do this whole process in a cycle. So we get a little more most highly friendly. And then we have another birth of I. We become a little more giving. And we go, gosh, I am a giver. I'm more of a giver. I'm not an enlightened giver. I don't channel billions of dollars. But I give away a roll of quarters and I'm 12 years old. Wow. Okay? And you wake up and I'm a giver. And then it starts all over again. So we go through this cycle, and each time it's one layer off the onion on our development. So if you did 2 spreads for 2 different people, and you had the very same cards come up in both spreads, one person could be taking those cards on this level, another person on this much higher level, because they've gone through more layers of the onion. So one person will be a huge giver and be able to give really easily when the 9 of diamonds comes up. It's just natural to them. Another person, it's like they grudgingly decide to be a little giving, like the Scrooge, So realize that this is a cycle that we're going through. And when you see a 9, don't just expect, oh, you're going to be this totally charitable, giving person. It might just be, you're going to be learning how to give right now. You're going to see the value of giving and how it feels really good to be a giver. And that in giving, that more comes to you. Because that's what the 9 of diamonds is about. At its highest level, it's a person who does that unconsciously. It's so natural to them, like breathing. On a lower level, it's someone who reads the prosperity book that says, if you want to increase your prosperity, give away 10%. They're like, what? All right, I'm going to try it because I want a lot of money for myself. And they try it and it works. So that's a 9 of diamonds on a lower level, okay? So remember that. The 9s are making a deeper connection. And ultimately that means the deepest. But really there's no such thing as ultimate. Ultimate means infinitely cycles down the road. It's always just deeper than your current level. So when you see a 9 come up, the person's going to connect to that card on a deeper level. If an 8 comes up, they're going to connect to themselves on a deeper level. And a 9 comes up, they're going to connect to their lives on a deeper level. But that just means a deeper level for when they started that particular journey. Okay? Then the last number, number 10, the Hindu text give the word karmarsha, which means patient and enduring activity. 10 is this entire cycle, this whole cycle, this whole circle that we traveled of 1 through 9. That cycle is the 10. It starts at the 1, it goes to the 2, and goes on through the 9. That whole process is the patient and enduring activity at the 10. It's this whole process, this whole cycle of growth that happens in the circle of numbers. That's what the 10 is. So when a 10 comes up in the spread, it's a powerful card. It's hard. 10s are amazing cards. A lot of people equivalent a 10 to have the power of a face card, and it really does, because it's this whole process. So when a 10 comes up, patient and enduring activity, it means the person is going to do whatever it takes to have things move forward. If they need to be an ace, they'll be an ace. If they need to be a 3, they'll be a 3. If they need to be a 5, they'll be a 5. If they need to be a 2, they'll be a 2. The 10 has all these numbers at their disposal to use and juggle. And I use that word juggle for a reason. You'll learn later. The 10 juggles all those numbers. They're like, oh, I need an 8. And it catches the 8, works with the 8. And it tosses in the air and goes, oh, I need a 9. Tosses in the air, I need a 7. And whatever demands life has on it, 1 through 9, the 10 handles it, works with it, and makes a success of it. Which means 10 is a better card than any of these other cards, because it can do whatever it takes. All the other cards are working on one level. 10 is the cycle of all those levels working together towards a success. So when a 10 comes up, a person's going to do whatever life requires of them to make for that thing to be successful and work out in the most healthy way possible. A 10 of spades is a person who's going to surrender and make the sacrifices. Because spades ultimately are the fact that, individual life has no meaning. That's what spades are all about. Every tree will fall. That what matters is the cycle of life, of the many trees. Same with humans. None of us matter as individuals. We only matter as a species. And that's a really important thing. I know that sounds cruel, but it's true. We don't matter as individuals. How do we know that? Because if that was so, God would not wipe out individuals the way He does. He wouldn't just flick us off the playing board. He wouldn't sneeze snot on all of us and blow half of us off the chessboard when He's playing chess. But He does. So obviously, us individuals, our individual lives are worth hardly anything. But the species, the cycle of lives and generations of lives, that's what has value. That's what's important. Because the truth is, God wipes out the individual, flicks them off the playing board, when that individual is no longer necessary in that role, in that play, and there's no more for that individual to learn in that role. So He flicks them off the table. But then He maintains the species. So in that individual, that consciousness drops back into another embodied life form. The stage is set for everything to be into place for them to learn, evolve, and to grow, and to get deeper into their own nines. So there's a reason the species is more important for the individual, because it's the species that support the million years of growth that an individual consciousness needs to find enlightenment. Okay? So the 10 of spades has that self-surrender attitude. It has that self-abnegatory attitude of putting the ego aside. Because ultimately spades are all about letting life take over and finding the deeper essence of life, because the ego will never be fulfilled, the ego will never be satisfied, and the ego will die. So how much do you want to give to it? Ten of Spades realizes that you only can invest so much in the ego, and the rest is disappointment. And so it can have a greater quality of self-sacrifice, of self-abnegation, all these deeply spiritual qualities that can help a person connect to life in a greater, more meaningful way. Okay, of all the tens, the Ten of Spades is the harder card of all the tens, because it is a card of self-sacrifice. Because Spades ultimately is a self-sacrificing thing. We live only so we can die, and that's the path of Spades. It's the path of death. So it's patient and enduring activity of life that will die. That's what the 10 is. So it's just keeping on, working it, not letting the ego get involved, and just consistently bearing the burdens that life throws at them. Like when Christ said, if you would come unto me, give all that you have to the, sell everything you have and give the money to the poor, pick up your cross and follow me. Well, that's the 10 of Spades. Pick up their cross and just walk across life with a smile on their face. And that's one of the beautiful things about 10 of Spades. When a 10 of Spades comes up in a reading, that person will be under a lot of pressure. They'll be lugging this huge cross, right? But you can say one thing to them, and they'll just look beautiful. They'll just shed it all. Actually, my name of this novel I was reading late, or listening to on my runs, like an audiobook. There's a Brandon Sanderson novel, The Way of Kings, the second book. And in this book, two characters have really had horrible lives. One person was all bitter, right? And this guy has gotten so bitter. And this other person, this woman, who's had, in lots of ways, a worse life than him. And he thought she was a spoiled little brat. And they get stuck down in this chasm together. And they hate each other from first sight. But they're stuck together, and each of them thinks the other person, they saved the other person by accident because it was a miracle they were both alive. So they're stuck in this chasm. And they're trying to find their way home before a thunderstorm comes that's going to drown them in this chasm, basically. And so, as they're trooping through the chasm the next 2 days, they're getting to know each other. And, you know, they argue about what a spoiled brat she is and how she's prejudiced because he's a low-born person and da-da-da-da-da. So, fairy tale stuff, right? But then there comes a point where she opens up a little bit and she goes, well, of course, you know, I'm not the kind of person who's had this happen and this happen, and he could see in her eyes that indeed she's had those very things happen. And he's like realizes that here he's been picking on her and calling her spoiled when she's been through some heavy shit, you know. And he sees this pain, anguish in her eyes of everything she's gone through, and the pain of seeing people die that she couldn't help, of seeing her loved ones get killed, all the anguish. And she says it, and then she just smiles beautifully, and he thinks to himself, and she smiles. God, you know, what's he say? You know, Stormfather, that's the curse in the book. Stormfather. She's sincerely smiling, you know, with all these burdens, something he could never do. He's grumpy all the time, you know. And here she is. She's been through worse hell than him. And what does she do? She smiles. That's the 10 of Spades. I walk through hell with a smile on my face. So I love it when you see 10 of Spades come up, because though that client is in the middle of hell, they're just carrying this huge cross, this huge burden, they're ready to smile at whatever life puts in front of them. And that's a really beautiful quality. So 10 of Spades is patient and enduring activity of life. What is life? Life sucks. We all know it, you know. Everyone knows it. Life sucks. So 10 of Spades says, I'm going to smile anyway. Big deal. Life sucks. Smile anyway. That's the 10 of Spades card. Okay, 10 of Hearts is the path of love, the patient and enduring love. 10 of Hearts comes up, no matter what happens, the person's still going to be able to love. No matter what happens, the person's still going to be loving. So if you do a reading and the person comes in and says, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what I did to my wife. And you cast the cards and you go, oh my God, I don't believe it. But the outcome card's the 10 of Hearts. The love is going to prevail. The patient, enduring love that won't die. So the 10 of Hearts is the love, the path of love that melts down all resistance, ultimately, you know. It's funny, my daughter has a really strong 10 of Hearts. Both my daughters do. You know, they got like 3 plants in their 10 of hearts, and they're both really loving creatures. You know, I don't want to call them people, creatures. And, you know, my daughter's like 12 now, and one day I'll be grumpy or something. I'll slip out of my 8, you know, and I'll be my good old grumpy 7 of clubs. And, you know, she'll just come up to me and give me a hug. She goes, no matter what you do, just know I'll always love you, you know? I'm like, well, that's the 10 of hearts for you, right? So 10 of hearts is this enduring love that just doesn't die no matter what. So if a spread comes up and the person goes, I don't think they're ever going to talk to me, they got so mad and they left, you see the 10 of hearts come up, you say, no, love will prevail. Just be patient with love and it'll all work out. 10s are all about patience. 10 of spades is just hang in there. It'll work out. That burden will get lighter and you'll get your due reward in life. 10 of hearts is, you know, be patient with love. Love will prevail. 10 of clubs is the path of inspiration. It's the path of knowledge. It's the path of understanding. It's 1 through 9 clubs all together. 10 of clubs is extremely versatile. It's the path of making whatever connections they need to take the next step in their lives ultimately. Clubs are very connective, as I've talked about suit. They make connections, intellectual connections. They connect intellectually. 10 of clubs can connect intellectually on whatever level with whatever it needs to fulfill whatever it is that it's interested in. It's an extremely multi-talented, versatile card. And you see that 10 of clubs come up in a spread. It simply means the person has the capacity to make the connections, to be successful with whatever it is that the question is about. But again, they have to be patient and work it. But they'll be able to work it. All 10s can work every number. Okay? 10 of diamonds. 10 of diamonds is called the wish card sometimes. It's the card of material realizations of your desires. So a 10 of diamonds comes up. It means in time you're going to get what you want. That you're going to get it. You're going to get your hands on it. It's going to be a reality in your life eventually. Somehow you'll get the resources, have the skills, have the abilities to make this wish come true, and you will get this. It's a sure thing in time. Again, all 10s are patient and enduring activity. It shows a path, a time. Lots of times in a reading, a 10 comes up. That means the event, the promise of the 10 happens in about a year. It's a card that means a 1-year timing, usually. And usually in card readings, you only time out to about a year. You don't really try, with the casting cards, you don't try timing beyond a year. A 10 means in about a year, okay? Or at worst, if not in a year, in that next year of your life. You know, so after a year from now. It means in time, after patient enduring activity, everything will come together. So it can take time with the 10s, but 10s are always a sure thing. And it shows you have to work this path. The 10 shows you have to go through this process of it getting to this next level. If in a reading a 10 comes up in the past, you can say, oh, you got to a new level of love, 10 of hearts. You got to a new level of understanding, 10 of clubs. You got to a new level of finances, 10 of diamonds. You got to a new level of surrender, 10 of spades, whatever. In the past, you got to a new level. If it's in the future, you're going to get this when you get to the new level. So as soon as the person gets to that next level of understanding, that next deeper connection of the 9, which means as soon as they go through this process and complete it, they'll get their 10. So to help to see where they're at, in the spread, look for what other numbers are there of the same suit. If not of the same suit, what other number dominates? So if you get a 10 as the outcome, you know they're going to get it at the end, and you say it's a 10 of hearts, and it's a 3 of hearts is in the spread. Then you know right then today they're working on the 3 of hearts. So they have a long ways to go, you know. They got a few steps to go. If they get an 8 of hearts there, or 9 of hearts, wow, they're right there at the end. It's about to happen. So you can counsel them through the rest of the steps and say, well, you're at the 3 right now. You need to be independent. You need to get away from this thing a little bit, sort yourself up, develop your own strengths, find your way based on your own merits so you can be more secure. And then you'll be able to see what's not working and then be able to make things work so they're the most fulfilling as possible. So you can kind of work them through those steps, and that's the process to have to get to that next level with a little less ego involved. Okay? Because you always get the results of the 10, the promise of the 10, when you get to that next level of less ego involved. Because that's what the cycle is. It's shedding the ego and getting more highly friendly, which means more deeply connected to the life that is making it all happen. Okay, so that's the journey you're on with the numbers. And I just find these keywords work so well for working with the cards. They explain so much that of all the keywords of the numbers, these are the ones if I only could have one, if I only could have learned one system, this would be the system. I really like it. I find it just works so easy. Especially as I started working more and more with the birth card system, I found just this working better and better and better for me. Okay, so there you have that. Thank you.